Elon is turning on the spending bill. This is what Trump is calling the big, beautiful bill. This is the legislative achievement that he can get through in this first year. And Elon says, I'm sorry, I can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those of you who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. Whoa! Those are tough words. Elon Musk was the buddy-in-chief. He was one of the most prominent figures at the White House. He's recently left the White House after his 130-day period when he could be a temporary government employee while still owning his companies. And then he comes out. He's out of the White House for a few days and he says the chief legislative achievement of the White House is a disgusting abomination. What is in the bill? Is Elon right? Well, first thing in the bill, largest tax cut in U.S. history, because what the bill primarily does is extend the 2017 tax cuts that Trump had during the first term. This is why when I sat down with Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, I said, what's your thought on the big, beautiful bill? He said, well, it's pass or fail for us. It's not, we're going to get some of it through, or maybe we'll try to get this part through, or, he said, look, it's all there. This is the bill that we can get through, and it's either pass, fail. If we pass, then we get to keep the tax cuts. We get to fund our government. If we fail, we're going to be responsible for the biggest tax hike ever. So we have to get the bill through. And that's what they were after. The libs are going to call this a tax cut for the rich or something. That's not what it is. Americans earning between $30,000 and $80,000 a year. So $80,000, I think, is the median household income in the United States. People earning from $30,000 up to the median household income will pay 15% less in taxes. That is a massive tax cut. Thanks to Trump, thanks to the big, beautiful bill. But it obviously will exacerbate deficits if all you got was the tax cut. So there is also deficit reduction. And to the White House's credit, it's the largest deficit reduction in about 30 years. There's all sorts of savings, and the devil's in the details on this accounting, but $1.6 trillion in mandatory savings. That's pretty good because there's a lot of extra spending in there that the White House had to put in there because it's what President Trump ran on and it's what the people voted for. That's funding for the border wall. That's funding for ICE agents. That's funding for the military. That's funding for child tax credit, a kind of early version of a White House family policy. So it's all pretty good. Where do the cuts come from? The cuts come largely from waste and fraud. So the other thing you're going to hear about this bill from the libs is that it takes away health care from Americans and from children and all the rest. Not so. It is taking some money out of Medicaid, which is a government healthcare program that is designed for lower income American citizens, but it's not taking healthcare funding away from the people who deserve it and who are entitled to it under the Medicaid plan. It's taking Medicaid funding away from the 1.4 million illegals who are on Medicaid, to use just one example. It's taking Medicaid funding away from people who are abusing the system, who are not legally entitled to it, people who refuse to work, people who don't meet even basic requirements to avail themselves of health care and a welfare. So it cuts waste and fraud in Medicaid. It cuts some ridiculous, fraudulent money that was going to environmentalism and all sorts of other liberal pet projects. But all in all, as someone who's paid attention to politics closely for a long time, I think the big, beautiful bill is pretty good. I think it's totally necessary for the White House to get this through, given the razor-thin majority in the House and a better, but still not massive majority in the U.S. Senate. Right now, go to expressvpn.com/Michael Knowles Show. The internet of the 1990s promised a world where individuals, not governments or corporations, held power. Today, that vision, it's distant. Big tech dominates our digital lives with companies not just serving ads, but potentially influencing our political choices through controlled content delivery. The original internet promised personal freedom and control over your information journey. There's a way to reclaim it, ExpressVPN. When you browse the internet, your service provider tracks everything you do, building a profile that data brokers sell to advertisers and government agencies. This constant surveillance means that we're being watched and manipulated online. With ExpressVPN, my entire online traffic flows through secure encrypted servers, preventing even my ISP from monitoring my activities. It means that I can browse without surveillance. I've used ExpressVPN for years. I can get it on all my devices. Even me, I'm a little bit of a Luddite. You just download it, load it up, click the button, boom, you're done. ExpressVPN masks your IP address, which is the digital identifier that the companies use to track and manipulate your experience. Super simple. One click, ExpressVPN works seamlessly across your devices. Find out how you can get 4 months free by scanning the QR code on screen, clicking the link in the description box below, or by going to expressvpn.com/Michael Knowles Show. I think it's totally necessary. I agree with the Treasury Secretary. It is pass-fail. But also, I think it's a pretty good bill. All in all, it doesn't spend nearly as much as we might fear that it would spend. But it's not the kind of bill that a libertarian is going to love. It's not the kind of bill that someone who had the expectation that this government was going to get rid of the budget deficit, that this administration was going to start paying down the national debt. That's going to be disappointing for that kind of person. I'm just a little bit surprised that Elon is surprised. Elon is very intelligent. Did Elon really think they were going to get a better bill? Did he? I don't know why anyone would have that expectation. Not because Trump isn't good on his word, not because Trump isn't serious about cutting his pay. It's just, this is how our political order operates. We have been running massive annual budget deficits for 25 years. Republican, Democrat. She might say, well, that's the problem. We need to turn that around. Yeah, I know. I get it. I know. But we need to get a little deeper, okay? Rather than just pointing fingers and saying, you stupid members of Congress. It's easy to say that. I've said it many times. We need to ask ourselves, what is wrong with our political order that we keep running these massive deficits? The politicians don't just do it to play a trick on us. They do it because they believe that that's what they have to do to get elected. Because, as H.L. Mencken says, democracy is the theory that the common man knows what he wants and deserves to get it good and hard. I think there is a deeper issue, but deeper than Democrat, deeper than Republican, that explains why we run consistently massive budget deficits. All in all, I think the bill's pretty good. Now, the one little political operative thing that might be going on here with the Elon tweet that I haven't seen anyone else point out, Elon might be tweeting this now as the kind of bad cop to Trump's good cop. And so it gets through the House. Notice Elon didn't tweet this before the bill got through the House because the Republicans had like one vote they could play with in the House. Okay, it was so tight. It was unclear if it was going to get through. Now that we're in the Senate, there's a little more wiggle room. And because the bill is being passed through reconciliation, the Senate now can maybe make this bill a little better. Mike Lee, one of the great U.S. senators, said, in response to Elon's tweet, said, we got to make this bill better. So the other thing that might be going on here, it might not be just that Elon's having a temper tantrum and the bromance is over. What might be going on is that Elon's new job for the White House is to play the bad cop. So you got the good cop coming out of the actual White House and out of the Republicans in the House, and then you've got Elon playing the bad cop. I have to believe there's a little bit of that going on because of the timing, because it's after the House passed the bill, but also because Elon's a smart guy. And anybody who is surprised by this bill, who thought that this big, beautiful bill could possibly be any better on spending, given our present political circumstances, just is not paying attention to the political circumstances. But now those senators who are afraid of the Elon bucks in their primaries, maybe they'll try to tweak the bill, make it marginally better. That was a great clip, I think. I hope you think so as well. I hope we agree. Hope we see eye to eye. Mano a mano, faccia a faccia, you know? Ring the bell and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.